Yeah, so I'll be talking today about weather, about climate, and just sort of some of the here we go, standard, perfect. Just what to expect as you're approaching, kind of exploring different college options in the US. You're all going through the Next Genius program, so you'll have a list of institutions, and just all of us, we're all over the map, literally, in different ways. And the US is a very, very, very large country, a very large, expansive region. So we thought it would be helpful to just give you some idea of what to expect in terms of climate and geography and, just the surrounding areas with the schools that you're considering. So yeah, I've been tasked with this one. It's a very big topic, because we're a big country with 8 distinct climate zones. So, there's a lot to consider with that college research that you're doing. We want you to look into more than just, does the school have the program I want, or does it have the ranking that I want? But what would it actually be like to study in this area? You'd be here for 4 years at least. So, you want to understand that kind of physical environment as well. So I'll be covering just a little bit about some of the temperature ranges, some of just that physical environment, some of the seasons for those who may never have been out of their current climate area, like what to expect in college. I'll also be spotlighting the Midwest just a little bit, just to kind of put us on the map in that way. And then some closing remarks about how to think about weather, and how big a role weather and climate should play in your college decision, and some of our suggestions there. So yeah, I've put together this very official map here of the US, and I found this one online, and it shows these different climate zones. So there's a lot to look at here, but the take-home message again being that this is a very big country with a lot of variation in climate depending on where you are. So we've got in the blue stars some of the major cities in the US that you're familiar with. So Seattle over there on the left, LA, of course. We've got New York, and then Washington, DC over here. The spinning star is Beloit, and I just added Juniata because now I knew I was presenting with you. And so you'll see, the variation here. It goes from tropical to very, very, to Arctic all the way up in Alaska, which is not on this map, and everything in between. And you'll see some really fun little pockets that might be a little unexpected here. So yeah, we are one nation, we're 50 states, 3 territories outside of the continental US, and 8 different climate zones. So yeah, just to know what you expect there. And we've got the Rocky Mountains over here, and then the Appalachian Mountains over here, which also have their own kind of subclimate in that way. Alrighty, so yeah, zones 1 and 2. If you're looking at schools in Florida and Louisiana, Texas, Southern California, that's when you're going to be looking at a climate that's very similar to large portions of the subcontinent of India. So it's considered tropical or subtropical. Zone number 1, right around Miami, the southern tip of Florida. That's also what you'll find in Hawaii, Puerto Rico, some of the, like Guam, some of the other US territories. And so, yeah, wet season and dry season, kind of like what many of you, I think, are used to. Pretty hot in the summer. And then it cools, especially in the last couple years. You do see a little bit more snow and a little bit more freezing temperatures in much of zone 2. Than we may have in prior years. But for the most part in this area, it's going to be hot and pretty, temperate all year round. But even just in this one climate zone here, you've got everything from coastal countries to swamp and marsh, forest and desert. Because you'll see over in Arizona, in the west over there, zone number 2, that's not hot and humid and swampy like Florida is. It's very dry, it's a desert. So what that means in terms of heat, you might know from your own travels in India. So, when you're in drier areas, it's a different type of heat completely. So one state is not like the other in the US, but that's a little bit of what to expect in these zones 1 and 2. Zones 3 and 4. So you see 3 is in orange, 4 is in yellow. This is a really good chunk of the US, and I think many of our next genius colleges are kind of in this area. So, you know, you include the mountain range here, over there in the Appalachians, much of the South, little parts of the Southwest. So again, as you're looking at the continental map and looking at where all your next genius schools are and some of the other universities on your list, a map like this with the climate zones can really help you figure out what to expect all year round. In 3 and 4, we've got a nice balance of climates. So 4 seasons for sure. But the winters tend to be short and somewhat mild. There'll be some snow, but not as much as you'd expect elsewhere. Summers tend to be long and hot, very humid over here on the East Coast. And then again, California and the Southwest is dry, and other regions are humid. So, you know, what to expect in terms of rainfall, for example, is very different in different parts of the US. Even in these 2 zones, we've got coasts, we've got mountains, prairie, desert, forest, everything in between. So again, if you're looking in Kansas as opposed to Virginia, you're going to see some differences in what to expect. But these are great questions to ask the admission counselors at the colleges. Just say, hey, you know, I'd love to learn a little bit more about the weather, about the natural environment around this college. What would it be like to be here for 4 years? Zone 5 and 6 are, of course, the best zones because that's where Beloit and Juniata are. And so this is the green and the blue. So we're definitely kind of on the upper half of the continental map here. You know, what I like to tell students is, if you look at the US map and you draw a line right in the middle, definitely everything on the top half of that line will get all 4 seasons. But as you can see, even parts of that lower half, you'll see a little bit of snow, you'll see some cold weather. So New England, all of the Northeast, what's considered the North Atlantic, upper Midwest. I just put in all these terms that you might be seeing in your US college searches, terms that, that describe the regions in the US. The Rocky Mountains, the lower Rocky Mountains, the Canyonlands in the Southwest, a lot of those are in zones 5 and 6. So definitely 4 seasons, like I said, dry on the West Coast, humid on the East Coast, lots and lots of different types of landscapes. It is common here to have much more of a winter. So here, but anytime between December and about February, it's what we consider winter weather. So freezing, there's snow, you know, but there's still as much sun as there is cloudy skies. So it's not like it's just cold and dark the entire time. And, you know, as some of you might know who may have traveled or have kind of explored some areas that have 4 seasons, there's nothing more magical than a winter scene, especially at colleges as beautiful as ours. So yeah, I would really encourage you when you're doing your research to take a look at, look at pictures of the colleges in all 4 seasons, because to me, the fact that the seasons change, the fact that it gets chilly is a selling point. That's a way that you can experience something potentially new to you and watch a campus absolutely transform 4 times a year. And yeah, so the colors in fall and spring are just out of this world. Alrighty, and then zone 7 and 8, we're almost through our list here. So this would be on the continental US map, there you see zone 7 along the top. So the top of Maine, when we're like the border of Canada, basically. And then parts of the Rocky Mountains, of course, where it's snow covered. And then Alaska all the way up there on its own is in zone 8. So yeah, this is the north. This is the cold part of the country. You still get 4 seasons though. You know, you still get a nice summer. It might be a short one, but you'll be out there in a t-shirt at times. So we've got some temperature ranges here of what to expect. But yeah, the winters are cold and the winters are long up here, but still some of the most stunning landscape and natural zones and ecosystems that you've seen. But even just a state like Alaska is basically zone country. It's huge. I think it's even bigger than my little image suggests here. And it has its own climate zones, depending on whether it's coastal or inland. So again, the take-home message is the weather depends on which state you're in, which part of the state you're in, what time of year. So we really want students to embrace this idea of experiencing a different climate, experiencing something that may seem, different or maybe difficult, because this time of college is really one of growth. So the Midwest, I'm zooming in a little more here. Beloit is there right in the middle, close to Chicago. There's Lake Michigan. These Great Lakes are also a stunning area to consider. If you're interested in environmental studies, freshwater science, geology, they're just really fantastic areas to explore in the US. And just some images of what the different seasons look like on our campus alone. But again, you can do this kind of research easily for all the schools you're looking at, and just picture what it would be like to have your feet on the ground 4 years round. And just zooming in a little bit more into some of the cities just in the Midwest, and what, like, just the different scenes that you would see in a Midwestern city like Beloit. So some of the cities that are surrounding it, all around the US, you've got really big metropolitan centers like Chicago, New York, Miami, DC, LA, and then you have what are considered small cities, Beloit being one of them. And that might be like a neighborhood of Mumbai or Delhi. Like what we consider a city over here, I think might be laughable to some of the students. But even what's a small city, like the city of Beloit, 37,000 people, it's still its own little hub of business and industry and commerce. So, if you're looking at a school, a small liberal arts college that's a little more remote, that might not necessarily mean that it's in the middle of a cornfield. So there might be more to do and more to explore than you think. So you don't have to be in a big city in order to have a lot of opportunities for internships and a lot of opportunities for growth and exploration. The US has so many fantastic hidden gems in a way. And so you're doing yourself a favor by approaching your college search in this kind of in-depth way, and doing looking for these kind of answers. So for the students who are a little nervous about going anywhere that gets cold, we really encourage you to think broadly about college as an exciting time of growth and exploration. So the weather changes. It's different in every state. There is no place that has an ideal temperature all 4 years. And ideal is different to each individual. I, for example, have always lived places that have all 4 seasons. I can't imagine being somewhere where I don't get to see the winter, where I don't get to see the leaves falling and the landscape changing in that way. So whether you're kind of a poet or a poetic soul, or you just really want to enjoy the natural side of your college experience, it adds to it, I think. In a place like Juniata and Beloit, the natural beauty of our campuses is, like I said, a selling point. So, in terms of how you're approaching thinking about weather, again, there's no one amazing place that's going to have everything you want. There's no single definition of ideal weather. So, definitely look for a university that's situated in a place that you think will inspire you, a place that you're curious about, that you want to explore. It's not just about the program. You're not just going to be sitting in a classroom for 4 years with your head down. We want you to be interested in more about the college than just those academics. And for the parents too, physical, mental, social, spiritual well-being is so important in these college years. And so for your child, for your student to be somewhere where they feel good and they feel excited to be, that affects how they approach their studies, how they approach everything. Choose a university that really satisfy your needs as a student and as a person. And challenge yourself to experience something new. Don't just stick to what you know and what's comfortable, because college is an opportunity to really challenge yourself and see what you're made of. Some questions to ask yourself there. And my take-home messages about weather is, the universities that you're working with, like Juniata and Beloit, we're really fantastic at advising and preparing you, so you know what to expect. You'd be discussing with us for months, potentially, what it's like to study at our schools. So you'll get the information from us about what to expect, how quickly the weather starts chilling out in the fall, what to pack, what is better just to buy over here so that you're not packing like 6 suitcases of like winter jackets and things. So lean on us, please. That's why we're here, to help you understand those things. And, I encourage students to really put yourself out there. Sign up for activities in college that will get you out into nature, that will inspire you to explore the area beyond the college campus. You'll find joy in, like I said, watching your campus change 4 times a year potentially. And yeah, celebrate your own resilience and strength. And in some ways, if you're not really a fan of rain and you're sitting in a monsoon season, or you're not the biggest fan of cold, and you've still got a month or 2 of cold weather ahead, bring your own weather. Change the way that you're approaching that day, or that, change your mindset in a way, and just sort of choose to see it as an adventure or as something exciting. So yeah, I mean, at this point, I don't know if we have time for questions or anything, but I wanted to just sort of go through that very, very, very quick intro into what to expect with weather at Beloit.